Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in today's video I'm doing my review of WWE SummerSlam 2025 Night 1. We started off with Jay and Roman Reigns defeating Bron Breakker and Brunson with Paul Heyman in their corner. This was a decent tag match, very run-of-the-mill kind of tag match in my opinion. You know, Reigns taking the spear and pushing Jay out of the way I thought was very interesting. You know, the commentators pointed out that like Roman's been taking more hits for Jay recently, which kind of, I don't think it changes their position within the bloodline. It kind of puts them on an even level, I guess. But yeah, so it's a very interesting story to tell maybe in the future or going forward with Jay and Roman. The first half of the match was very Ron Seal. It was kind of what I expected. Bron's kind of separating Jay away from Roman, but also them taking out Roman whenever they could. We saw Brunson running into the steps. We saw Bron Breakker kind of jump on him, and then they had the beautiful moment, in my opinion, where Jay jumped for a tag, but Breakker kind of, I want to say rugby tackle, but they said American football, tackled Jay out of the way, but also Brunson pulled Reigns off the apron and into the barricade. So I thought that was a really cool moment in the match where you thought we were finally going to get that hot tag moment, and then they completely killed it off, which I very much enjoyed. But of course, like from the Brons, they were very tactically correct, which of course they were with Paul Heyman by their side. They were never not going to be, especially taking out Reigns like every possible moment they could before the hot tag, as I've said. The pop for Roman coming in as the hot tag was very big and to be expected, to be fair. But yeah, the Brons pretty much controlled the majority of the match here. They looked great in defeat. Arguably, the wrong team won. I feel like Bron Breakker and Brunson would have kind of been better off beating Roman and Jay, especially in like tag team action rather than singles action, especially when it comes to Bron Breakker and Roman Reigns. But again, I feel like because of what happened in the main event, maybe that was supposed to put us off Roman's coming back, but obviously he did anyway. But yeah, I feel like it's more important for Breakker than it is for Brunson as far as like getting wins over the likes of Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. But yeah, it was a good babyface pop, just opened the night with, made perfect sense as far as them winning. It was exactly what I predicted would happen. And so yeah, I said overall, it was a pretty decent tag match. Wasn't the worst one on the show, but again, wasn't one of the best matches on the show either. Following that, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss defeated Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez of the Judgment Day to win the Women's Tag Team Championships, which again was a fine match. There's nothing particularly special about this one either, other than the result. I was never expecting Liv Morgan to show up. It would have been nice if she did. I would have popped if she'd shown up. But yeah, for me, wasn't expecting her, so it was a kind of, I wasn't disappointed at all by the fact that she didn't get involved. What I was disappointed about was the result. Very sad to see the Judgment Day lose those tag team championships. I felt like, you know, having the tag titles when Liv came back probably would have been the better decision. I mean, they might still do that. We don't know how much longer Liv is out for. Maybe they'll do, you know, I think where Charlotte and Alexa end up kind of having more miscommunications, end up losing the titles back to the Judgment Day, making Raquel probably a 4-time Women's Tag Team Champion, and it wouldn't shock me if they go that way either. They do like having the Judgment Day lose only to reclaim them championships. But yeah, this was more of an evenly contested match compared to the first match. There was the synergy of Raquel and Roxanne like improves more and more match by match, and it's something I've very much enjoyed watching over the last few weeks on SmackDown. I think it's been like just over a month that Raquel and Roxanne have been tagging, and yeah, they seem to really be improving as a team, and I hope that losing the titles means that they're not tagging anymore. So I feel like, you know, there is definitely a very good team here, even though they kind of got thrown together due to Liv's injury. The middle part was a bit tough to watch. There was just submissions and then Roxanne and Raquel stopping Bliss from tagging in. It wouldn't really feel like the match was going anywhere at that point. It like massively stagnated. And it felt like it went on for a while, but the pace definitely picked up once Charlotte got in. And then yeah, I mean, for me, as far as the final sequence goes, as soon as the kind of choke slam or spine buster kind of, I want to say Kiana bomb, but that's not how you say it, from Raquel Rodriguez into the pop rocks from obviously Roxanne. As soon as that got broken up and it wasn't the finish of the match, I knew that the Judgment Day weren't getting the W and that we'd be getting new tag team champions. which is a big shame in my opinion, because I'm a big fan of the Judgment Day, big fan of Roxanne and Raquel, and yeah, not the biggest fan of Bliss or Flair. So yeah, from a personal preference point of view, very not happy with this one, but there was bigger losses to come on the night for me. But yeah, said hopefully this isn't the last time we see Roxanne and Raquel together, but you know, I can't see the reign between Bliss and Flair lasting for very long, so it wouldn't show me if they just ended up losing them back to them, as these are like the only two women's tag teams other than the Kabuki Warriors on the main roster anyway. There's a fair few in NXT. But I said, as far as the match goes, it was fine, nothing really that special, but you know, in hindsight, probably one of the better matches on the show as well. So yeah, a bit of a confused thought on this one. Like, as I said, with hindsight of what happened for the rest of the night, this one was actually pretty okay, but at the same time, it wasn't great either, if that makes sense. I mean, I hope it makes sense. So following that, we had Sami Zayn defeat Karrion Kross, and honestly, I don't really want to talk about this one. Is it okay if we just skip over this one? Because I don't really want to talk about it. Following that, we had Tiffany... Okay, fine, we'll talk about it. So, Sami Zayn defeated Karrion Kross in what was disappointing, is pretty much the word for it. I was in a terrible mood after this happened, but they just couldn't make Kross a star, could they? They had all the opportunities to do it, WWE that is, and yeah, they just couldn't do it, and it's a massive shame that they're probably... I mean, we don't know what his contract thing is. I'm recording this literally straight after SummerSlam has finished, so we still don't know whether Kross is signed or, well, re-signed or not. But yeah, so the match was okay. The finish felt very stagnant. I'm not sure what the right word is for that one, but either way. But for me, it was like the second weakest match on the card. I did like how we didn't get the start with like holds. It was like going straight into the action with these guys, and they went, and Sami Zayn did like the moonsault off the barricade, and all that kind of stuff. It was very early in. They just kind of started beating the crap out of each other, which makes sense within their feud. But also it was like a different way to go about it. I'm glad that they didn't do like lockups and wrist holds and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I do mean like, I don't know. If like for me, the first half of the match was good, and then the second half of the match was definitely not so good. So overall, it just wasn't very good overall. I would probably say it was very like I don't want to say run of the mill again, but it was very just mediocre in my opinion, which is not what I expected out of Kross and Sami Zayn on a big stage like SummerSlam. But honestly, if Kross hasn't re-signed, don't re-sign. These guys, WWE is clearly doing nothing with Kross. So why not go somewhere else where they're actually going to use him? I'm not saying, oh, just put him straight to AEW. Like, even if we went back to TNA, went to New Japan, went to AAA, you know, AAA have got a history with Karrion Kross, maybe they'll use him better. TNA have got a history with Karrion Kross, maybe they'll use him better. But yeah, for me, there's just no point in sticking around where, you know, fans are genuinely getting behind you and the company are doing nothing with you. So for me, if he has re-signed with WWE, then I'll be happy, but I just feel like after this he's going to start getting lost in the shuffle again. But if he does go elsewhere, I do hope they turn him into a star like WWE I feel like should have, but I understand why people don't have the same feelings towards it. But for me, this is very much based on personal preference, which I apologize about because now I'm being like really negative, but I can't help like not being happy with the fact that one of my favorite guys is being shat on. So, you know, as for Sami Zayn, he didn't need this win, in my opinion. He could have quite easily lost here and still very quickly recovered. I assume this is a big win towards his build towards the Royal Rumble, so they can have him as probably the favourite, as if not the actual guy to win the Royal Rumble, as it's in Saudi Arabia. He is Mr. Saudi Arabia, and they'll probably do a similar thing with him as they've done for Jey Uso and Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, where they'll have them build him up until he wins his first World Championship. You know, we've all lived this story before, and it's going to happen again with Sami Zayn. But, you know, it is what it is. Like everything in this match, I really don't like it. Yeah, I'm just very annoyed about it, to be fair. And I don't want to put like a sour patch on this, on the video. But I do like to be as positive as I can. But yeah, for me, I really didn't like this, just based on personal preference. And the match wasn't great either. So, you know, just not good in all kinds of ways. Following that, we had Tiffany Stratton defeat Jade Cargill to retain the WWE Women's Championship. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was a lot better than I expected going into this. You know, these you know, you have to believe that these two are like two of the main women in WWE in the present and the future. So, you know, the fact that these are having a pretty good match now means that both of them are only going to improve and only have better matches, which is something I'm very much looking forward to enjoy. But yeah, I liked how these two seemingly had very good chemistry. They've clearly like talked a lot and been maybe training together probably. But yeah, see, everything just worked really well here. Everything was seamless. I didn't really see any major mistakes, which sometimes we can get with Stratton and Cargill, even if they're just minute ones. I've said everything just seemed to go and flow very well here as far as the pace of the match goes. I liked how Jaded was very well protected here. Tiffany didn't kick out of Jaded. She managed to get a foot to the ropes, so it protects Cargill's finishing move going forward as well. So when Cargill probably does win that women's championship, it's done with Jaded, and they can, you know, still have it as a move that is fairly protected. But yeah, it was very well done. The moonsault to the outside was done fairly early. The spinning powerbomb that Cargill did, though, I'm not gonna lie to you, I liked the spinning. I think it was more like a blue thunderbomb from Jade Cargill. I preferred the fact which I think the powerbomb she did to Naomi at WrestleMania, where she had her on one side, she had her on her shoulders, threw up and powerbombed her. That was a much better move, but I do like that one as well. I feel like Cargill could make a very big use out of the powerbomb. So yeah, something, again, I very much enjoyed about this one. But then, yeah, we saw Stratton get the win, which I feel like is a bit of a shock. Most of the people who I watched videos for or I did predictions with chose Jade Cargill. I personally chose Jade Cargill to get the win. So at this point, you know, who does beat Tiffany Stratton for the championship? For me, only one name comes to mind, and that is Bianca Belair. And I feel like the match that Tiffany and Belair could have could be absolutely fantastic. Maybe they're saving it for the Royal Rumble. Maybe they're saving it for WrestleMania. It's definitely a WrestleMania-worthy match. Obviously, we don't know when Bianca Belair is going to be back from injury. We have been told via reports that it's going to be fairly soon, as soon as this past week on SmackDown, or this coming week on SmackDown, sorry. But yeah, I feel like they could have an absolutely awesome match, and it wouldn't shock me. They love putting the championship on Belair, and I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of missed Bianca Belair over the past few months. I feel like she's arguably one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, and yeah, not having her around, I feel like has made SmackDown's women's division suffer a little bit. So yeah, having Stratton versus Belair, I feel like could massively elevate the title. And yeah, for me, as an overall wise for this match anyway, it was very good. Probably the second best match of the night, and it was good to see such a good match come after such a bad match. So yeah, it definitely like turned the whole feeling of the pay-per-view around. It's a shame that they couldn't keep that feeling of the pay-per-view because of what happens in the next match. But yeah, for me, Cargill and Stratton went out there, absolutely killed it, and yeah, probably had one of the yeah, I'd probably say this is Jade Cargill's best match to date, which is fantastic, and I'm very happy that Stratton came out with the championship. After that, we had Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre defeat Randy Orton and Jelly Roll, and overall, what was not a good match. Again, another pretty bad match on the show. Probably the worst match on the show. I mean, I would say so. I really didn't like this one at all. There was a very slow start. It felt more like a comedy-based match to start with Jelly Roll trying to go up against Drew McIntyre, then getting a Claymore? No, it wasn't a Claymore. It was the kiss, the headbutt. I can't remember what it's called right now because I'm tired and it's like 4 a.m. It's 3 a.m. Sorry. But you know, yeah, I mean the headbutt that McIntyre does. Yeah, it just felt very comedy-like instead of like being taken seriously. For me, I found myself getting very bored throughout this match. I feel like, you know, I wanted to like go on my phone and see what people thought of the Stratton and Cargill match rather than sticking around and watching the match that was going on. To be fair, I didn't have a big interest going into this match. I was one of the things I just did not give a crap about and could have quite easily lived without, even though it would have been taking Orton and McIntyre off the show. But I was very open to having my mind changed, and I wanted this to be a pretty decent match. It just wasn't, in my opinion. And I don't know, maybe I was stuck in my ways, and I should have been even more open-minded. But yeah, I just couldn't get behind this one. But yeah, I mean, the only thing for me, there was only really two good parts of this match. The table spot that Jelly Roll took, respect to the guy for taking the spot, it looked pretty bad. You know, I think any other guy probably would have been, any other normal guy / celebrity who isn't an athlete in the WWE, if that makes sense, probably got pretty winded from that, and it won't shock me if he did as well. But as I said, it was a solid break of the table. It was very well done, so respect to the guy. That was one of the good things about the show. But Other than that, it felt like Jelly Roll was only really there for a cheap good guy pop from the crowd because he's from there. Or, no, he's not. Where is he? I don't know. No, he can't be. He's from, like, Nashville or something. I don't know why he was there. Other than just, you know, for good PR. But, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, for me, if we need a musician to come in and wrestle in WWE, I'm calling 0800 Bad Bunny. Because he is the musician who is a wrestler guy that we have, and he's great. You know, we don't need some shit country singing guy. No offense to Jelly Roll, I just don't like country music. But yeah, the final sequence between Logan, Drew, and Jelly Roll looked really good. They made Jelly Roll look good, sorry. Especially Logan, he was throwing himself around for Jelly Roll, which I feel like worked really well. But yeah, you know, you think of all the other matches we could have got instead. They could have put Vega and Julia on here, or maybe had some kind of multi-woman United States Championship match and put Chelsea Green on here as well. You could have done Damian Priest and Aleister Black. You could have put LA Knight on the card. You know, we haven't seen LA Knight since Saturday Night's main event. They could have made a match for him. Maybe even put the World Tag Team titles on the show and had a four-way match between the three teams that were in the number one contenders match and, of course, the Judgment Day. But no, we got this crap instead. And yeah, the best part of this match, I think, by far, was the fact that it was over. But yeah, so really not impressed with this one. And yeah, don't invite Jelly Roll back for in-ring stuff because it just wasn't very good. And finally, in the main event, CM Punk defeated Gunther to become the new World Heavyweight Champion for the time being. But yeah, we got a really slow feeling out process here. They were doing holds to start with. It was the only real match that started with, like, you know, the lockup and the holds and the submissions and like headlocks and takeovers and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the pace, I don't know, it was kind of a pacing that both are comfortable with to begin a match, which again fit perfectly. I had no issues with this one. It maybe went a little bit slower than I would have preferred, or yeah, I would have preferred it being not as slow as it was, if that's what I mean. But other than that, it kind of worked, and then we kind of got it quicking up in the later stages, but not to like a degree where it's like an Ospreay match or something. But it worked to their advantages, in my opinion. The dynamics of Gunther being the technical powerhouse and Punk doing the more traditional wrestling route with some high-flying stuff in there worked very well. I very much enjoyed it for the most part. Yeah, Gunther controlled for like, I wouldn't even say the majority of the match. As far as control of the match goes, it was at least 90% Gunther, 10% Punk. Punk got very, very little offense in. And it kind of got me thinking throughout. It was probably the most physical match Punk has had since he returned. Probably the, I don't know. How do I word that better? It's the most physical wrestling match he's had. Because obviously the Hell in a Cell match with Drew McIntyre was incredibly physical. But in like a different way, because there was weapons and there was blood and there was this and there was that. This, from a pure wrestling standpoint, Punk like never had a happy look on his face. He always looked in pain. He always looked like he was getting the absolute piss beat out of him. He looked incredibly uncomfortable throughout, which is just good selling from me. After the third powerbomb, I thought that it was inevitable that Gunther was getting a win. Like, all he pretty much had to do was another big move, and the Punk was going to be out for 10. But no, again, Punk, for me, I don't know, Punk never really got into it. He never really had a proper second wind, and even when he did, and he did, you know, after the table spot, and Gunther was all bleeding and all, which I was very, very surprised about. Very surprised to see Gunther bleed. But yeah, the last sequence of the match, once Gunther was split open, was great. You know, we kind of saw, and Michael Cole really put this across very well. I know sometimes some people can get really annoyed with how Michael does commentary, the way he starts shouting and telling people what they need to know and what wrestling fans already know and whatever. But for this, it was like Gunther's never been split open before, or like not that we can remember. I mean, at least I can't remember, unless he's, well, apart from his chest maybe being opened up from chops. But like, he's never been properly split open. So for me, what I took it as was Punk was taking advantage of the fact that Gunther had been thrown for a loop because he was not used to bleeding from his forehead. You could see his reaction when he got back in the ring. They like almost couldn't believe he was bleeding. Yeah, Punk took full advantage of that, managed to get the win. You know, took advantage of a weakness in Gunther, which Gunther would never have prepared for, which was being split open. And yeah, we had the absolutely awesome moment of CM Punk winning the World Heavyweight Championship. You know, you could see him crying in the ring, how much it meant to him. He sold it great. You know, like, you could see how much it meant to him, even though he knew what was about to happen. And yeah, but the best selling of the whole night was when Seth Rollins' music hits and CM Punk's face changes from happy, crying emotion to oh shit. And yeah, no, like when we like got to like probably the last quarter of the match, my head kind of went to, I cannot get rid of this overwhelming feeling that CM Punk is having the absolute shit kicked out of him for a reason. And then yeah, we got the cash in. We got the moment where Rollins comes out in crutches. He's got his brace on. Paul Heyman stood next to him, and the thing that got me was Paul Heyman didn't move. Even when Rollins turned around to go back into the back, Heyman did not move an inch. So then that's when I knew that Rollins was going to drop the crutches, get rid of the brace, and head down to the ring. And honestly, I was in my living room watching this. I am screaming at the TV. Punk, run. Just run away. It doesn't matter. Just go through the crowd like you've done before. Do all this other stuff. You know, even when Rollins took his shirt off at the top, I'm like, Punk, you've got time. You've got to run away or something to save your championship. You've got to do something. Even though I knew within myself that Rollins was 100% going to cash in, I was so invested in this moment. And like, it's the overwhelming factors of how it all went down. The fact that we all got worked, which, by the way, fair play. I got worked. I thought Rollins was out for months. I thought this was going to be the year maybe where Money in the Bank doesn't get cashed in until right at the last second. And you know what? I'm happy I got worked. I'm happy with the fact that I honestly thought Rollins was injured, out for months and months and months. To get how this moment felt, and like the way, I said, I don't know how to put it. It's just the way the moment felt when it was going down. Yeah, I'm happy to be worked when we get such a big moment out of it. And yeah, for me, this whole sequence of events from the starting of the bell of Gunther versus Punk to Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank successfully, the way I looked at it was Gunther had a absolutely perfect match. Gunther literally had the match dead to rights until he got thrown for a loop, which would happen to anybody, and Gunther had absolutely nothing to be ashamed of losing in that manner. And yeah, it made Gunther look incredible losing that match. Number two, we got the huge moment of CM Punk winning his first world title since 2013, and like having that moment, seeing him getting like visibly emotional in the ring. We saw a lot of that in the Unreal documentary, and yeah, we got it here at SummerSlam when he finally got that world title win. And then we had the absolutely flawless, the immaculate cash in done by Seth Rollins. Everything about it was perfect, and yeah, I have nothing, absolutely nothing bad to say about all this. Everything was done absolutely perfectly. Everything meant something, which is obviously something we all need to learn with WWE, is that everything always means something in one way or another. And yeah, it was a absolutely fantastic and absolutely brilliant way to finish off what was, in my opinion, a kind of mediocre card, especially for night one. I'm really looking forward to seeing how night two goes, because I feel like there's kind of more like chances to have a better show overall. But yeah, this was absolutely brilliant. I cannot stress enough how much I enjoyed this, and yeah, I feel like this is going to be one of the better moments of the year overall. So those are my overall thoughts of SummerSlam 2025 Night 1. Do put down in the comments below what you enjoyed about the show, what you thought of the cash-in, what you thought of the other matches. Obviously, I've been pretty overly negative about it so far, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a very lackluster show. It felt very slow. It felt just not very good in general, apart from Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill, which they absolutely killed it. I cannot give them enough praise. And the main event was immaculate, as I've said. I feel like I expressed my feelings enough about the main event in that section of the video. So yeah, as I said, overall, pretty okay night. I feel like those two matches definitely saved it. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing how night two goes tonight, and then kind of seeing how it feels overall. I feel like, as I said, there's a better chance of tomorrow or today being a better show. But yeah, do put down in the comments below what you thought of tonight, what you're thinking of going into, what you thought of last night going into tomorrow. And yeah, do like the video if you enjoyed it. Do stick around. There's obviously night 2 review coming soon, as well as lots of other wrestling content coming up on the channel, so do stick around. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.